Okay, cool. So we're recording now, and we'll just assume that we're going to make this recording public in its entirety. But if any point along the way, like you hear something that you think maybe we shouldn't have shared, then you let me know right then, and I'll stop the recording right then, and then we'll start another one. So sound good?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So cool, man. I'm really excited to connect, especially, that I haven't seen you or even talked to you for a few weeks now. You've been on a whole journey, and I'd love to hear everything. I know we don't have a lot of time right now. You want to give me a minute or two, kind of like, how your life has shifted and transformed and expanded by your, the last few weeks of your evolution on this planet?
Well, I've been traveling the last few weeks, so that's been my last experience. I went to Mexico, spent time there with my family, and yeah, had a good time in Cancun before they closed everything down again. So that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that you got that opportunity to be with your family and to enjoy some, fun, like you said, while still available. And apparently you did okay. You haven't been sick, I take it, or not bad, right? That's great.
No.
That's good. Good for you. Good for you, man. Because a lot of people I know have been sick lately. It's been kind of crazy for me. I don't know if you're kind of experiencing.
Yeah, no, same here. Everybody I talked to had COVID in the last few weeks, so yeah, exactly. I've been escaping it for sure.
Good job. Cool. So I'm glad you had the traveling experience. Let's dive right into what we're going to talk about. And I really appreciate you taking the time to go through the video and really understand the whole process right now. And you can really get a sense that we're pioneering this process, but I think that we have all the pieces in place already to make it super valuable, which is essentially just to help us systematize creating results, right? Is what it comes down to. It's like, if we want to create results, like here's like a real, boots on the ground way that it has to get done, like a way of really understanding what it takes to realize a vision. And then if you're willing to choose in, then great, you choose in, and now here it is, and you're showing the world what you're doing, and you're doing it, and we all get to see what each other is doing, and we all get to support each other in all these different ways. It's a whole new, ecosystem of what humanity looks like, really, if you think about it. So it's really so awesome. I always am super present to who's there at specific time and specific spaces. So I really appreciate that you and I are diving deep on this. You're one of the first people to really go in deep on, in this process on camera. So this is going to really be something for people to see and a model, and we're all going to be following like how Emiliano is doing with his vision and what, who you're pulling in and all that. And we're all going to be creating that with you. So, I'm really excited to hear, what you've been visioning and what you want to share and what we're going to be focusing on.
Yeah, well, my goal right now, and I know that, whatever project I'm building needs to be something that I care about, of course. I'm going to dedicate time into it. So I thought of doing something a little more personal, not so much as a big goal, changing, my community or anything like that. For now, my goal would be to start planning my trip I want to move to a bigger city. My plan is to move to Austin, Texas. That's initial. My thoughts are initially there. I wanna be in a place where there's a bigger ecosystem for entrepreneurship and more creative people, and just be around that environment. Right now, I'm in a very small place. I feel like it's nice to be in a place like this, but at the same time, like I'm missing that creativity and that synergy and energy from others. So
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. And you are the type of person that should be in a place like that. And I've heard, that that's like, an up and coming place for, the type of people that you're talking about. And I can definitely see you being one of the people, being in that space. So yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think it's a really perfect way, this is the thing. And I made a video about it this morning that I'm going to be sharing later, is that, the game has really changed since I first approached you about joining the Leadership Council. And the Leadership Council is really representing something different now, because it was the collective solutions framework that was like the leading solution, so to speak, that we were leading with. And then as you've heard from the videos, I know you weren't able to join us, but as you've heard, we've been shifting the last couple of weeks. Like, is that really what we want to lead with? Is that really what's, most relevant to everybody? And, we've kind of decided that it's more of, the manifestation process, and having people be able to, create what they want in their worlds. And it has to be something that's really, really, valuable to you, such that your time and your financial and your energy commitment in this is going to have you get results that you're like, hell yeah, that was worth, my time and my energy and my attention, my finance, it has to be like a no-brainer for you. That's where, I know a lot of people have like these altruistic visions and all of that, but that's not really what we're looking for right now within the system. We need sustainable visions that when somebody achieves that, they get, whatever they need, finances in a lot of cases, or whatever it is, for it to be them to want to put more energy into it, right? So I think what you're saying is awesome, because I think that use of the system to structure all of your needs, to give you a launching off point, a landing point, like everything that could really support that whole, experience for you, I think is a really awesome use of the manifestation process. So I'm excited to see what we can do with that.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. And as you said, it's you build the blueprint for others to move to another city, for example, right?
Exactly.
So,
Just follow
yeah,
these steps. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And yeah, and that can go in so many directions, right? Because even just that, even just becoming some kind of expert at that, has a monetization, right? So it's like everybody gets
right.
to choose whatever they want to monetize around, because they can just lead the world in helping to show them, how to get things done. Who's ever good at anything? So it's really a revolution in the way that we get to be valued and the way that we get to express our value in the world. That's a whole nother side, but I really want to dive deep into now, where you're at, what you've already identified as stakeholders. And if you want to go, step by step through the worksheet in particular, let's start with the vision. So you've shared kind of the short description of the vision already. I want to move to Austin, or did you say Austin or San Antonio?
Austin.
Austin, that's what I thought. Yeah. So Austin, and I want to move to Austin, and here's what I've already identified are like things that I have to meet or fulfill or get handled or show up in my, or whatever it is, in order to make that happen. So give us a little bit of the more extended vision of, what it looks like. Like, I'm going to be doing this for work. I'm going to be living in this environment, just more of the details of what the vision is for you and the move, right?
Yeah. So I guess that's the part where I'm still I in the idea phase, right? I don't know exactly what I'm gonna be doing there. All I know is that I'd like to work somewhere that is related with, well, right now I work in an entrepreneurship center, so that's given me good experience to do something like that elsewhere. And at least, I can have the background and just come in and be like, hey, or a co-working space as well. That's the other thing I'm doing. So I could probably go and work somewhere there in co-working or an entrepreneurship center, something like that. But my ultimate vision is to work at a startup and and be part of like a new team or develop my own company, um, which I don't know yet what's it gonna be on, or I know that I want to do something that makes a difference, of course, like a social impact company, but I don't know yet what's gonna be. I just know that if I move somewhere where there's the energy, I will feel more motivated to start something.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And that's totally awesome. And it's great that you're saying all of that, because again, this is where I'm seeing, as you're saying that, I'm like, okay, so how does he work for a company like that in Austin? So I guess the first thing would be for you to like find all of the companies like that are in Austin, right? If you're going to have a landing spot, or if you're going to create some business for you to have, you know, some business ideas on the table that you're looking for, you know, some support in some way to have that one go forward with this. For this one, I need money. For this one, I need this expertise. For this one, I need this strategic partner. You know, whatever it would look like for what your business ideas would be, if you want to, if you feel like that's, you know, a possibility for landing, or whether you feel like that's more of the longer term, I'm going to land with some established company where I'm going to have a paycheck and everything's going to be stable for some period of time as I start to, you know, vision the next steps. So, you know, whatever ways you're seeing it, describe what you're seeing, you know, as your vision of how this looks for you in whatever ways it looks for you at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that finding the companies would be the first step. Like start mapping out the environment in that city, to see, you know, who are the big players there, what organizations are there, you know, who is in charge of certain things, and start understanding the ecosystem better, and then from there be able to make better decisions, of course, and approach those organizations in a better, more informed way. So I think that that would be definitely the first step.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is. And it's where, you know, again, I'll just share with you in my mind, you know, what I'm hearing is I'm hearing like the beginning of this systematic, you know, process of that, right? And that's where, again, even that you are starting to do that process in any kind of systematized way, you know that others have the same needs, right? You know that there's like thousands of people that want to move to Austin right now for the same reason you do, if not more, you know, and want to have those kinds of landing places and all of that. So again, it's almost like you're creating a business just out of, you know, what you're trying to do because no one else is doing it. And then like all of a sudden, like everybody, you know, that's the thing. And again, obviously it's going to take a little bit of time for us to build out our network. But the thing is that this is the same story for everybody. Everybody has these same compelling reasons to want to do this. So we know this is going to go very viral very quickly. We just have to get all of our ducks in a row as quickly as we can to expand as fast as this is going to go, right? So, but it adds these interesting layers to your thought process, right? Where you can start to imagine that even just in the process of finding a job, I could create a business where I don't need a job, and I can just help all these other people find that same job that they're looking for, right? Like you could even go to those companies and start like, you know, saying, I've got candidates for you. You just being a matching service essentially, right? And again, that's a whole lot of what this whole, you know, structure creates. But I'm just throwing that out there because again, I want to help you narrow in on, you know, what you would want to do there. But I also want you to imagine like how quickly could I do, you know, some business if, you know, it's, you know, you'll find it may not be like the recruiting business. I may not be the one, but there may be some things that are really within your passion that you're just declaring a vision of what you're going to create in Austin. Like you could look at the landscape of like, you know, let's take, you know, around food development and product development around farms, or, you know, something that you have some very specialized knowledge in. And you could look at who the players are in Austin, and you could identify how you could arrange them with a certain flow system through them that could create much higher level results. And then you could just, you know, sell them on that system. You know, you basically, again, there's all kinds of different ways that you get to use the organ, just even the mindset, of connecting and creating value. And even like we've talked about, I haven't talked about a lot, but you did hear it in the meeting, is that, just the idea of, especially you that's so networked with so many people across different networks, that you know this person, that if they were doing this with this person, like they could create a lot of value together. And we don't make all of those connections all day long because we're not incentivized enough. There's some risk involved. Maybe it's not going to work out. People are going to get their time wasted, whatever it is. So we don't overcome that risk enough to say, hey, you guys should connect. Hey, you guys should connect. But the fact is that when we're within a system that does that all the time, and we're making these connections that flourish into something, just earning 10% of that, 5% of that is easily going to be thousands of dollars for people like you and me that know lots of people that are doing business in big areas, and $10,000 deal here, $100,000 deal there, and then you have money. So again, it's this too, and even just the early stages of that, it's almost like we don't even need the automated system to just be starting the process of that, of you identifying friends that you could connect, and us having essentially like a standard agreement. Hey, you guys agree to give me 10% if you guys do business. And it's really just the normalizing of that concept in our society, which is what it's going to be. So essentially what we're going to do in the system is we're just going to create this automated thing where you just like invite people, like, hey, I want to, here's a system I want to invite you to that has all of this exchange happening, and you can choose to be a part. And it's much more of like people being invited to a system, choosing to be a part of the system. And then you're like, if you guys join the system, there's people I want to connect you to, I want to connect you with people. Here's the opportunity for it to be a win-win for you, for them, for everybody, for me, for everybody. And so again, I know that you've known all of this like energetically, but I just want to share it with you, in words right now, because this is not only, revolutionary for you, but for everyone. And you really are truly on the cutting edge, because you've got this amazing, like, creative core in you, Emiliano, and also the connecting, the people connecting, that you are so, able to do that so well, have rapport with people at such a great energetic level. And to combine that, with your knowledge, experience, your intelligence, and all these different pieces, now like the world is your oyster, as we're going forward. So you get to be one of the first people to show people how you can use these things, this network, especially all of these people, that you get to be in front of on a regular basis, and everything, what can you do with that? What's the most that you can make of all of this in your hands,
Yeah, no, for sure. I was talking the other day to, I had a call with 4 people. Actually, it was yesterday, and they were all involved in the eco village movement. And so, yeah, they were, a little younger than I was, and I was sharing about, what ideas can, or what can we do to get more young people involved in this, and what are some ways that they would feel compelled to learn more about it, like something more interesting, not just like teaching it in school, or like something more attractive. And so I was asking those questions, and then they started coming up with ideas, and I was like, well, that's great. I think it's possible to do it. A lot of these ideas are very exciting, but once we get to the execution part, they fall apart, as you've talked about it. But then I mentioned that that I know this project, and I told them about the nano actions. If everybody took so I started spreading the word to them, so they got interested and excited. And I don't know if that idea could happen or not, but there's ideas flowing, and that's what's cool about it. And I don't know, like, once this is more set up and there's a more systematized way of like making something happen, then I think we could plug some of those ideas into this as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really awesome. I'm definitely interested in hearing, more about that conversation whenever you want to share. I want to make sure that we're, spending all the time we can on creating results for you right now. So I want to make that the priority, but
Yeah.
for sure, I would love to hear, about what they had to share and all of that when we can talk about it later. For now, I think just share a little bit more and we'll start to get into the 6 analysis dimensions with the strategy, the organizing, the management, the technology, the outreach, and the finance. But I want to just, give you a little bit more time to share anything else you want to about the vision. Again, the living environment, the living, situation, what part of town, what type of home, whatever you want to share as your vision to make it as tangible as possible for anybody that can support you in achieving your vision to, give you exactly what you're asking for, right? So I think it's a matter of really just laying it out in as much detail as you want and can share to attract exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, I think that my ideal is to have a place, and I would rather live on my own, but if it's too expensive at this moment, I'd be okay living with roommates because that's the easiest way of, you know, paying for rent. But my ideal would be to have my own place. It doesn't have to be big, just one room and, kitchen area, and that's it. Um,
I don't
and
know if
then
I don't know if you've looked into the rent situation there, but do you have an idea of the amount that is like your max that you want to pay, and then you'll see if you can be on your own for that, or whether you're going to need a roommate for that?
I haven't. I should do that too.
Mhm. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, and then
Um,
again, you'll share that because again, that'll depend on who's sending you what is based on what you're putting out there.
okay.
That's the
Yeah.
thing is like sometimes we wouldn't share like all these like specifics of dollar figures and that sort of thing. But in the end, if we want to get exactly what we want, we need to show everybody what it is that we want so that they can know. And it's not like a mystery, right? Like they don't
Yeah.
like matches aren't happening, are happening, but are on the wrong, because you're thinking this and they're thinking this. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
we're all on the same page down to the details.
Yeah. Well, in terms of a job, like I'm thinking, getting a base salary of like 50,000, like to start with, and just anything above that, I would like to consider. Anything below that, I would consider as long as it's like a very, very, very interesting job that makes a lot of sense to go into. But I think that for the standard of living over there, I need to find something that's in that range, and for at least to be able to cover my bills. Like that's not even enough to. Oh, I guess you can save a little, but a lot of it is to pay for bills when you, especially in a more expensive city. So, anyways,
Yeah, I would
that's like,
imagine that Austin is probably getting more and more expensive all the time with lots of people wanting to go there. I'm sure they probably haven't even caught up with their housing yet and all of that. So I
yeah,
imagine.
exactly. So that's, yeah, that's
So have you even looked to see whether like, how close to Austin you can be at the price points that you're imagining? Like I imagine like, obviously right downtown would be super expensive and then it'll go out from there. So do you even know whether you can be within, 5 miles of downtown, or is it going to be 30 miles of downtown before there's a housing? You get what I'm saying?
yeah. I
Have you?
haven't really done much research. I think that's part of the questions I need to ask myself. So I'm writing them down,
Yeah.
and I'd also like to go visit because I've never visited either. So that's my one of my next steps to book a flight, spend the weekend there, uh, get get the get a sense of the energy and the vibe, and start looking for options there.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have friends in Austin?
I have one friend, yeah.
'Cause I
So
think
so
I
we've
imagine
spoken
that's
for
That's great. That's great. I imagine that another early step for you is to start to find other people in Austin that you would imagine, being your friends, or even, being your friends in advance, basically finding your friend network in Austin, wherever they are, so that you're starting to get some support from some other, kind of insiders about the things that you're looking for, right?
That sounds good.
Because I imagine your friend, has certain connections, but obviously not connected with everything you're looking for. So the more, people you start connecting with in the area, and even through your friend, just ask your friend, I'm going to start to build a whole network of people that I'm communicating with in Austin to develop everything I want to develop. So, which of your friends do you think are the best ones for me to, that you think are most resonant with what I'm up to and what I'm looking for? Type of thing, and have your friend refer 3 or 4 or 5 of their friends, as even just a starting point, right?
That's great.
And that's how, this whole networking thing, works essentially, right? So you want to exhaust, all that you can out of your friend's network in a way that's comfortable for them. When if you're creating wins for the people that they're referring you to, then they're going to keep referring you, because it's not a loss for them. It's a net gain, every person that they connect you with, right? So that's really your job, is what wins can I create for these people that I'm connecting with, and for my friend who's connecting me? And, is there some sort of value that I can offer in exchange, directly for referrals? That's where we get into the incentives and the offers. It's a little bit different in the networking that you're doing, because it's more like real personal and that sort of thing. But I think you can find ways, because even just, again, in you being willing to do the legwork to find like some really awesome people that you would connect with in Austin, like to find the people that, resonate with Emiliano. Just even finding those people is valuable to others who, in particular, the ones that you're connecting with, because now they're getting connected with others they don't know in the area that are also in that similar kind of vibe, right? So you're kind of doing the work to help network other people with each other that they don't have the time to like do their own networking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're like proactively finding them, but in the process, you're connecting them with others within the network of people that you're finding that are creating value for them. So you're ending up creating value for each of them just by allowing them to tap into the network that you're building for them. You're building for yourself, but in the end, they're getting to tap into it as well. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like the crazy, like, fractal network building value geometry that we're working with, is that like, this is any network around anything. But in particular, right now, when you're working on finding whatever it is, like if you're going to focus on the job, and you're going to focus on the housing, and you're going to focus on the whatever, you just being a skilled researcher, a skilled communicator, a skilled finder of a certain energy, like you are going to create results in that, right? That exceed what other people that even have the intention to want to do what you're doing, they can't do it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the people skills. They don't have the, right energy, whatever it is. You get what I'm saying? So again, you're creating value just in the legwork that you're doing. And then it's just really a matter of figuring out how you convert that value into ways that other people are able to embrace it and have it for themselves. And now you're like creating all kinds of like return value to you, right? You're opening a whole network with every person that you help in that way. You're opening a whole network, that they're connected with. That potentially you have access to now, right? They're like, how can I help you, Emiliano? Let me figure out, who of my network could you use right now? I'll connect you. You get what I'm saying?
The only question I have about that, and that I'm a little, worried, not worried, but just I pay attention to, is like making a connection with someone that you don't really trust so much or know so much, and then you end up being the person they're gonna think, oh, you connected to this person didn't really.
It's definitely a big challenge right now, as we don't have it systematized. So that is where it's great that you're saying that, because that whole reputation scoring system, really it's the reliability index is what it comes down to. And that's the way we're probably going to language it. within the system, so that all these connections are being recorded and being scored and all of that, so that when people are not fulfilling, promises and obligations and agreements, that it goes into the system that way, and you now you get to know, who you're dealing with and what the chances are and all of that sort of thing. And so it's all for the people that are going to participate. We're now traveling into a whole new realm. But you're right, in the beginning, it's going to require the traditional vetting process, of you kind of seeing, well, who are they connecting with and whatever. And there is a certain risk involved if they've done certain things to certain people that you aren't aware of and that sort of, and they might. So we're definitely, venturing in with eyes wide open and making sure that we don't overextend the trust that we are, transferring to someone. It's like, hey, I don't know, I haven't done this kind of business with this person, but I'm connecting you with them in case. And also it can be a lot of like buyer beware kind of consciousness as well, right? It's like even though you're connecting them, you're not necessarily vouching for them. And that'll actually be a whole nother part of the system, basically, where we have like endorsements and people, like, I say what I know about you and how awesome you are and how much I appreciate you. And when you have all these endorsements from all of these different, reputable people and that sort of thing, then, people can look at that and feel more assured, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like, that's an early way for us to have a little bit more of a reliability score, so to speak, based on our standing amongst our friends. So that's a whole nother way that we do all of this, just to give you some ideas. So you're right, it's going to take some time for us to get to a systematized way that it's more. So yes, in the beginning, just, don't stick your neck out for people that you don't know that you should, right? And we'll be working within the system in a way that you can still feel, pretty assured. In the beginning, there's certainly a lot. Well, I think I've said enough. I think you get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this whole way that you're presenting things, of being able to record the process of doing the whole research aspect of moving to Austin in this case, and finding a job and finding housing and finding the network, because like you said, other people are wanting to do the same thing and they might not have the time or the skill set. So the only thing I can see is that how can this become something that can be automated, for example, and it doesn't take up a lot of time, because otherwise if you make it a business, then you're good. And if but it
as I'm thinking about it, one element we haven't talked about that's coming to my mind, because what I'm thinking about is like, how quickly can you monetize what you're doing? And I think the best way to monetize, I think there's two ways. I think through the employers, it's a little bit more longer term, but I think in the short term, through sponsors that basically are businesses that can really use being the first ones chosen by these people. Really, they're the businesses for out-of-towners moving to Austin, right? So like the people that you would be having as an audience are like the people that they want to get to, right? And they're going to pay you several of them are going to pay you $1,000 a month or $500 a month, or a commission on sales, or whatever it's going to be, right? So like realtors, for example, right? As a perfect example, right? So whatever it's going to be, that's an early part for you, because once you start to do a little bit and map it out and you have a process, and we actually call them, take a quick drink. We call it a protocol, because you're going to be developing the protocols, basically. Like, here's the protocol for contacting these organizations. Here's the protocol for having a communication with these organizations. Here's the protocol, even when you get to it, of having a contract negotiation with these organizations, right? It's like all the different steps that people need. Here's the realtor part. Here's the this part. Here's the this part. It's like you've got it all like mapped out for people, right? With all of the options there. And that's where essentially, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you can have like a whole different levels of like membership for realtors and for employers and for whatever, because they could be tapped into your network with like pages on the website where they have, you know, the ones that are paying you $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is, they get an expanded listing that you're, you know, recommending that. You get what I'm saying? Like that whole game of like a whole like Yelp type of system and all these types of systems, it all eventually gets systematized, right? And that's where, again, we get to play with all the ideas of how we create business around these things. So again, how much can we do, like you're saying, early on and automate, and what does it look like to automate it? So I think at this point, what I would say is I'm going to show you, and I don't think pull it up. I may be able to pull it up in real time. Let me pause the recording because I don't know how long this will take. Hold on a second. Okay, we'll deal with that later. I was going to go, because we've started to create protocol materials with the students last semester. So we have protocol videos, we have protocol documents, we've started to create like standards for what protocols look like. And, you know, it'll keep evolving, but essentially that's what you're going to be doing, is you're going to be establishing these step-by-step things, but also you're going to be helping people with lots of the steps. And now that, whereas it would have been, hey, you're going to, you know, search and find all of these organizations. It's like, but I already did that for you. So now you can just tap into that part, you know, type of thing. So, and you can crowdsource it too, right? So it's like, I found a bunch, you can add more, you know, and together we make it comprehensive, you know, and that's where it starts to get into even more, you know, and again, this is where, you know, okay, so if it's being crowdsourced, who owns all the data? You know, these are questions that we still have to figure out and that sort of thing. So this is where like the ideas of what we're describing, really, we just need the funding for it now, which is great that we're sharing all of this, because now, you know, this video can be shared with somebody that can understand like, oh yeah, it's worth putting a couple $100,000 behind this right now to get this whole thing we're describing like working, you know, like that could be working in 2 months if I was willing to put $200,000 behind it, you know, type of thing. And it's like, that's great, let's make it, you know. So that's where we're heading in that direction. And it's just a matter of, we need to get, you know, the ideas, the concepts down clearly enough for people to, you know, understand and agree, yeah, I'd like to have that. And as quick as it'll happen, that's how quick the systems will be available to you. That's kind of what I'm saying. But I would say the advanced technologies that we're describing are likely going to still be some months in the coming. You know, it's going to be in the next few weeks where it's just going to be very basic type of things. But I think this is where, you know, I'm building on demand. And so you can share your needs with me that can help steer, you know, what the development is. And also we're getting closer to a leap where we're going to just start to have student programmers that are programming different parts and putting it all together. And that's going to give us a whole leap in productivity. And that'll happen soon. It's just that it's going to require a bunch of time and attention on my part to manage all of that. And I don't have that carved out yet. So we're getting to that, you know, as well as quickly as we can. So again, at this point, I would say, what have you thought about what your time frame is of when you'd like to actually make the move, or when the earliest is that you could imagine making the move?
Yeah, I've been thinking about probably doing a move in August, September. So right now, I mean, at my current job, I wanna get things established a little more, and you know, just be able to leave with something that I left behind. And so far, like, you know, I've been in my job for like 6 months, and a lot of it has been learning progress, and just understanding things. So I don't want to just leave yet without really leaving something behind. And so that's why I'm giving myself a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah, that's great. You know, 7-8 months is a great time frame to, excuse me. Yeah, I think, you know, we'll go still a little bit more. I've got just a few more minutes now, so I guess we're getting to a natural place of wrapping for now anyhow. We will talk want to see what you want to get into in terms of the manifestation process. But what I'm thinking is that right now our conversation is also going to start to turn to like, what parts of this do you want to, I'm still processing everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because now we're talking about, you know, what tools you have available to document what you're doing and then make that available in a way that it can somehow be monetized. So I think that we've talked about the idea of that enough for now that we can both kind of chew on it a little bit. I think I've shared a lot of different ways, you know, that it can go. And also I have some, you know, ideas of, you know, what could be built sooner rather than later to support what you're looking for, what your needs are in those areas. Is there any specific parts of the manifestation process that you're eager to talk about? I could still talk for a few more minutes if you have some more time. I just want to try to finish up around 1 or close to 1, but I could go over if you need some more time. So you tell me what else you'd like to cover today. And then, you know, this is, I don't know, you've already given me a lot to think about and process in terms of where we go with this, right? It's not, I think maybe it's not going to be so much by the book of the workbook as more of us flowing through the concepts like we are now, because it seems like we've been putting our time and attention on what's most significant and important to you in terms of how you integrate with the system. So I think we'll keep coming back to the manifestation process and all of that, but I think we've been honing in on where we need to find your resonance. So
Yeah,
I think that's
I
good.
think that what I appreciate and like about this call is, of course, the accountability. That's one thing. It's gonna be really nice to have someone I can hold me to account to some of the vision that I have at this moment. But second is the idea of figuring out ways of, like you said, monetizing in a fast, doesn't have to be huge amount of monetization, but like something that's reasonable, worth my time, like you said, incentivize me to do something like this.
Right.
And because like you said, like we can all do it, but what's the point of doing it? And like if there's a benefit to oneself, then you know there's more wanting to accomplish something. So I think that the monetization part is something that is sometimes a bit challenging for people in general. Being able to solve that aspect would be huge, at least for me. And so yeah, so I appreciate that a lot, and being able to brainstorm ideas and ways of doing it will be really good. And you know, not just for this project, for future things. And I think this will help a lot of people too, having that same problem of how to monetize their skill sets or their time.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And I'm thinking about that a lot. And I'm glad that you're kind of helping be on the leading edge of us figuring that out. Because I think that you're going to really help us figure that out really quickly in a lot of different ways. You know, we've already got, I was recording some things about this the other day. We have the referral level, right? So we talk about, I refer you two together, I make some percentage commission off of that. So that's one level of, you know, financial gain from the system. Then, like we're talking about, there's the whole like creating a business out of it where I'm connecting potential employers with potential people or potential realtors with potential clients. So there's like a business aspect of, you know, making money with the system. Then there's also like the building like of eyeballs and attention that gives you the sponsorship, you know, level of monetization of what you're doing. And so there's all these, and then also, you know, like selling products, you know, watch my video for $5 or $10 or $10 a month or whatever it is, right? And then there's also, you know, crowdfunding and, you know, similar to that. So there's all these different types of models, and you get to look at like how can each one of these models come into play within this environment, and then what would it look like and how would I use it? And again, you're right on the cutting edge because you're one of the first people kind of figuring this out. But you can imagine where once this has been done hundreds of times, thousands of times, like there's like absolute best practices around all of this, where it's just very simple, blah, 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 step by step by step, it's all been figured out for me. I don't need to figure it out anymore. I just need to do this, type of thing. So
Yeah.
it's great. It's cool that we're heading towards a world of that. And it's very cool that you're like right on the cutting edge of like being one of the first to venture into this area. It's like, okay, here's a whole world in front of me. How do I monetize my experience with the world? And let's like use these tools to actually do that. And now the world's like, oh, wow, we can actually do that. You actually can make money doing that. It's great. So yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, I think, leaving it with that, there's all these several different ways, and you keep adding to that list, and that's where essentially what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to have the channels on the website. So this is the level of the technology that we're going to have. We're going to start to have the channels on the website where some of this content is going to exist on specific channels, right? Like there'll be a channel for like relocation or something like that, let's say, right? And then people are tuning into that channel that want to relocate. And that's how like they're finding you and they're finding others around relocation. And then there's a channel for Austin, relocation, and Miami, and all these, so it's the channels where everybody finds each other, right? And so we're going to start to create these channels of content that you're going to be the first one creating it on, and then you're going to basically be showing the world, hey.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. So you become like the aggregator of the content, and people just be able to, and then the users are the ones creating the content anyways. Yeah, that sounds good.
Exactly. So it finds your audience for you, right? Because like you don't have to try to find all of the relocators in the world. Like they're finding you, they're seeking you out on the channel, right?
Yeah.
You're camped out on the channel that they should find you at.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. Really
yeah. So that technology, the channels, will be ready relatively soon. That's something I'm going to make live in the coming weeks, so that we can start to find each other on channels, and we can start to post videos like this on these channels. So then you can just be sending people to the channel. You can go to these businesses in Austin, these realtors, and say, I've got a channel where I'm collecting all of this information, and I'm inviting you to be a part of it, type of thing. And so some channels will be behind a paywall. So this will be an example where you'll have some free content on the channel, and then when people arrive there, you're like, here, I've got all the realtors in Austin, rated by other users or whatever, or something like that. And that's where even again, eventually we'll find strategic partnerships with companies like Yelp and other companies that are going to be providing their data into our system to help be a part of the decision-making process, right? And by them partnering with us, then they get to benefit from this whole world that we're creating as well. So it won't be too long before we are pulling in these real significant strategic partnerships. And that's really the idea, is that everything we're creating in the end just becomes the operating system for all the different apps, all the different businesses that exist out there, as just apps to plug into the same network that can be sharing, information, content, everything across all of the whole operating system. So that's really where we're going in the end.
That's really cool. I'm excited to see what keeps coming along out of this. So yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it is. I'm glad I'm getting to share this with you, Emiliano. This is the first time that most of this content has been recorded. And I have to say that, it's not a coincidence that it's happening with you. This is what you're generating in the world. This is what you're creating. So I honor you and appreciate you for sharing this with me, and for sharing this journey, and for being, one of the pioneers of how to actually make all this real in the world, and be so excited about, making it all real in the world. This is really, really awesome.
Glad to be part of it, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Well, keep jamming. We'll stay in touch via WhatsApp. I forget, you did get set up on Slack, right? You're one of the people that did get set up on Slack. We're going to have to start moving to Slack soon just to keep track of different videos and communications and stuff. You know, I've been less in administrative mode the last couple of weeks because I've been trying to figure out this whole manifestation process and all that. So it's been taking my creative energy and all of that. But now that I'm getting it more, you know, organized, as you can see, now I need to get back to, you know, like being an administrator and having meetings and all of those sorts of things. So we'll be focusing on that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So,
perfect. Yeah, I'm on Slack, so whatever is needed, I'll be there.
awesome. Cool, bro. I appreciate it. I'm excited. This is great. And
Thank you, Jared.
yeah, thank you, brother. Excited to share this with you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Blessings. Bye.